So this is going to be a little bit different only because normally I know I start off my vlogs by showing you guys what I'm wearing and like the start to the day. But we're going to do something a little bit different this time simply because I want to take some time to address some of the questions that I was given by the chair and answer those specifically. So this will be a different type of intro where we're just going to sit down and kind of reflect on some of the questions and what I've learned so far, since we are almost like midway through the semester. This is a really good opportunity for that, I think. And I didn't write anything down because I just wanted it to be kind of natural. So yes, so I am working really well with Miss Hogan. She's been super helpful with just explaining to me how everything needs to be done, and also just kind of putting me out there. Like, she told me before we started that this was going to be a very hands-on and like push you to the wolves type of internship, practicum, whatever you want to call it, where you kind of learn by just doing it yourself. So honestly, I really appreciate that because it helps you learn when you're just able to step out there and just do it. Like, once you think about it too much, you might get anxious. You might think like, hey, I'm not sure if I'm ready or whatever. But no, literally the first day she was like, okay, I need you to read this. Like, and then she said you have 5 minutes to read it. And like, of course, if you know Miss Hogan, you know that she's gonna like talk through the 5 minutes. So I didn't even really have time to read it. And she was like, okay, it's time to go, like time to put it on air. So that's very much the type of site supervisor that she's been. But throughout this time, I think we've grown a lot closer just as, professionals, as well as like, mentor, mentee, supervisor, employee, whatever you want to call it, type of relationship. She's been really cool. And on Saturday, she was really helpful with just making sure that although she wants the work done, she's very adamant in making sure that the well-being of the student is being protected, which I can very much appreciate. Thank you for saying that my phone call sounded professional. I am still working on, what tone I want to take with people when I answer their phone calls or whenever I get on the phone with people or do interviews. I'm still adopting like what type of tone it is that I want to take, and I had some time to think about that when I went on air for the first time, because Ms. Hogan told me that like maintaining this sort of like news persona, news voice isn't necessarily practical in the long run. You want something that's sort of natural to you. You literally just have your voice. That's one thing that I've learned. You just have your voice to sell something. It's not like news necessarily in a traditional quote-unquote stance where you're a news anchor and you're in front of the camera and people can kind of pick up, emotions and things like that because of your expressions. You just are persuading people and giving them information with your words. And specifically, yes, I have a tripod. The camera is now on a tripod. I actually have a tripod. However, it's not like a portable. Well, it probably could be. I'm not sure. You guys, I'm still learning. Like, I'm still learning how all this works. I'm literally just like trying my best. I don't know how. I might have to purchase like a portable tripod, because the one that I have is like the one that's on stands with the things that you adjust. You pull them out. I wish I could show you, but then I would have to take all this down. But yeah, so it's kind of like the ones that just stand still, I believe, unless I can take it apart somehow, which I'll probably research later. But yes, I know I need to get a tripod, but sometimes in the field also, it's kind of hard to like pull out a whole tripod, like when when you're doing an interview, because everything is just so like quick, like especially with Miss Hogan scheduling like interviews back to back on the same day, so you kind of have to be ready for that. Miss Hogan actually gave me this, well, not gave me, but she let me borrow this for a period of time so that I can like practice. I need to do some more practice with it, but I've had this DJI, I believe, microphone, as you can see on the back. I'm not sure if it'll focus. There it is. Yeah, so this like DJI microphone but the only thing about this, the reason why I haven't been using these is because sometimes they're finicky. Like sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. So that's why we always have the backup recorder, because you never know when this is going to pick up sound or not pick up sound. And that's, you know, that's why it's always good to have several options. And we've had many a times, even today, where although we have the recorder ready to go, like it'll die mid-interview and you'll have to be like, okay, quickly pull out the other batteries and replace them. So technology in this field, make sure you have a backup. Have a backup and then have another backup. Have like 3 or 4 backups ready just in case like things go haywire, because that's very possible in this field. So that's another thing that I've learned. Yeah, so we just went through a lot of the stuff that I learned every day after I leave, well before I leave the office. Ms. Hogan asked me, what do you learn today? So on any given day I could have a different answer, but I just told you a lot of the things in retrospect that I learned. But today specifically I learned how important it is to listen while doing interviews. I always kind of knew that, but in practice and doing more interviews, it's become more apparent how important it is really for you to listen to people when they're talking, so that you can respond intelligently and also respond in a manner that makes them feel like they're being heard, which is really, really important in cases like, let's say you were covering a story where there was a murder that just happened and you're interviewing a family member. You don't want it to seem robotic, like you're just reading your next question or preparing to ask them the next question. No, you want to be sympathetic. You want to listen. Today we went to go interview Reverend Williams with the Beacon Center that he just opened up for the community. A lot of good resources there. And I made sure that I listened when they said that they're doing STD testing and also offering transportation. So one of my questions was, I'm not sure if I recorded it, but one of my questions was, as a college student, I think that it's really great that you guys are offering, you know, PrEP options, STD options, HIV options, and also offering transportation, because not every college student has transportation. So I think that's really important. And I asked him, how is it that he wants the center to impact an area like Montgomery when there are so many universities around? And he had a really great answer to that. And Ms. Hogan told me afterwards that she was proud of me for asking that question, because it showed that I was listening to what it is, what services that they offer and things like that. So yeah, I learned that it's important to listen. Also learned in news, and nothing is necessary. Like, you can plan, but we always try to comprise story. Did I just say comprise? You always have to compile stories for the week. But even in compiling stories, like, anything can change. So you can have a plan, but that's not necessarily saying that everything will go to plan, if that makes sense. And, you know, just dealing with people, learn that that happens a lot. So like today, Miss Hogan had called someone a few days ago, and we had a tight schedule that we were trying to stick to because we had so many different interviews lined up. But because she really wanted that interview, she had to stop and be like, okay, let's do this really quickly. And, you know, I made myself useful by just taking notes. Another thing, take notes. Definitely taking notes has been helpful, because you can't remember everything like just by in your head. I know a lot of people think that they can. A lot of people like to take notes on their phone, which is cool. But for me, honestly, one of the best things that my other internship supervisor gave me was this notebook. She's very old-fashioned, and I really appreciate that she gave me this beautiful notes notebook, because this is where I keep like all my professional goals, notes, and, you know, journal entries, all types of stuff goes in here. And I think that's really important. I always have it with me in my work bag, which is another thing that you should have, because, you know, it's just be organized. Like, that's another thing that you kind of learn once you start working. Like, just, it's important to be organized, even though it's kind of hard to be organized because everything is just like all over the place. But just be as organized as you can be. Yeah, so there's a couple of things that I learned. I can go on forever. What reporting skills are you developing? So like I told you, listening while interviewing is very important. Speaking clearly today, Judge Hardwick actually asked me if I could speak up. That was one of the first times that anybody's ever asked me that. I'm not sure if I wasn't close enough to the mic or what it was, but I'm a very like loud speaker naturally. I'm trying to like tone it down even sometimes working in like office spaces and things like that. I've learned that I've had to be a little bit more quiet. But yeah, so speaking clearly, making sure, oh, one good thing that I learned for reporting, Miss Hogan actually taught me that when writing, I have a very, oh my goodness, the camera's gonna die. I have a way of like talking the way that I write. And that's not necessarily a good thing. You want to talk in a very conversational tone, and if you don't use big words, do not try to just put them in at any random spot because you're just going to sound crazy. I'm going to try to hurry up because the camera's dying. How do you select sources for your interviews? Sources, honestly, for me, a lot of it has just been through Miss Hogan. I just have to be honest. She's provided a lot of the sources for me, and I just have to follow up by doing the interviews. But I've been with her when she searched for sources, but a lot of people just email the station. So yeah, they just email the station with a potential story or an event that they're doing, and then we just follow up by contacting them and doing an interview. How do you make editorial decisions for your news production? Can't even answer that right now. I'll aim to answer that one in the next vlog because like I told you guys, I'm just learning. I don't have any necessary like editorial process that I'm going through. I'm literally just like, hey, this looks good to me. Like, I don't know. So, did I answer all the questions? Oh, I think I did. Cool. Okay, yeah, so I answered all the questions to the best of my ability. If you have more questions for me, please just let me know. Okay, so we are currently back on our way to the hemp department here with Miss Hogan, and we are going to do an interview with Miss Caitlin Reeves, and she's going to hopefully give us a little bit of information about how they've been maintaining it. I want to ask her specifically about the background of hemp, and hopefully we can do that really quickly because we got some other stuff to do today. We just did an interview with Judge Hardwick for the Pretrial Alliance meeting that's going on tomorrow at 6 p.m.
Actually, we did two now.
Oh yeah. And Miss Hogan did another interview talking about the heat index going up.
How to keep children and elderly safe during this extreme heat. Because we're under a heat advisory right now.
Which is crazy because it already feels like triple digits, but it's only 90 something degrees. So tomorrow is supposed to be really, really hot. So
tomorrow through Sunday is supposed to be 100 degrees.
Oh my god.
And the heat index reading is supposed to be 108.
Crazy.
Up to 110.
Crazy. So yeah, we're gonna check back in when we get over there.
Nursery farming part of it.
Okay, very cool. So one thing that I noticed that in here it's a lot cooler than outside. So can you talk to me about the maintenance of the plants? Like, does it have to be kept a certain temperature in here, and how often do you guys kind of tend to the plants?
Right. So if you look at this wall right here, this is called an evaporative cooling system, and they're really popular in states like Arizona, Nevada, California. And all this does is it's attached to water and drains.
So mission number 95 for today.
Yes.
We are on our way to see Reverend Richard Williams.
Yes.
To talk about the clinic that he just opened for the citizens of Montgomery, where they're going to be doing STD testing, HIV testing, and I'm planning on asking him what other services that they offer. And yeah, anything you want to add, Miss Hogan?
Nope. It's hot.
It's very hot. So. And they did this in 8 months?
About 8 months. Now, of course, they've been adding it on. You'll feel it when we get inside.
Uh-huh.
And so in our next space, we have not made our next announcement yet, but soon and very soon, you will hear about how the center will move to our next. We are continually trying our best to show not on what we can't do, but what we can do when you dream, when you cast vision, and when you believe that people don't have to stay in the specialty services. So if you need any specialists, you'll be able to get that through tech. Because we'll have an MD, PA, and a nurse practitioner on rotation here. Hold on 1 minute for me.
Okay. No problem.
All right, sir. See?
Very cool in here.